Hey everyone, grateful to have you tuning into today's message as usual. Today's message is going to be a slightly different take from maybe my usual, I don't know, maybe sometimes I talk about addiction, but you guys might be the first time you're hearing this, and it's basically coming from what I've been doing in my own life on a whole different other spectrum of my own personal growth, and I'm going to talk into that with you guys today. Important one for tapping into our emotions and using our emotions as triggers to get to a more authentic place. But basically, I stumbled across this particular series that I've been watching, and another couple of shows, but in particular this particular series, all on interventions on people who've trapped in an addiction, a very destructive addiction. And basically I'll tell you about that, and I'll tell you why it's important, even if you're not somebody who is ultimately somebody who has an addiction. Maybe you know somebody who's got an addiction, or I tend to think of us all having sort of slight addictions, slight ways in which we have these different things that we do that may be kind of destructive to us moving forward in a positive way. And basically you don't have to be somebody who's got a real addiction in terms of you're at the end of your wits and you have no idea what to do and the people around you are trying to save you or whatever happens at that point. But basically I want to use this particular series to illustrate something deeply important that you will definitely be able to apply to your own life, no matter where you are. And hopefully this helps people as well who do know people struggling with addiction, and maybe there's somebody close to you and you don't know how to handle it and you don't know what to do. So I'm hoping that this message does support all of you guys, no matter where you're coming from. And I'd love to hear from you guys as usual. Drop me a comment, let me know where in the world you're tuning in from, what's going on in your neck of the woods, and I'd love for you to make this a co-creation of the conversation. And as we go through it, I'd love to hear from you guys. What are your thoughts? What's your experience? What's your words of wisdom? What are your questions? Hit me with it all and let's go for it. So today's particular message is that addiction is an escapism from a self-degrading mind, and love is the antidote. Okay, so today's message kind of has two different dimensions that we're going to take, and I can't wait to dive into this one with you guys. And as usual, I'm going to be sharing a story, part of my experience, basically from this series, and I'll dive in and take some different angles. But what I want to talk to you guys about, let's start with the story. So recently I've been using my ability to tap more into my own emotions in order to grow, right? It's a new level of my personal development, gone from, hey, just choose your emotional state, don't feel bad, you're at choice point, just be positive, all of that sort of great stuff that can get you so far in life. My next stage of development is actually going the opposite direction, tapping more fully into my emotional states, realizing where I've suppressed a lot of emotion, and tapping into that more fully so that I can release that cycle of repetitive emotions that can trap you and so forth. That's a whole nother topic and story. But what I've been doing in order to tap more deeply into my own emotional state is I've been searching for and finding different documentaries, in particular documentaries, different series that really get to the heart of, challenge, right? And humanity, right? Like what really triggers our emotions is truth and depth and challenge and the darkness and all of that stuff. And one of the series that I've come across is this one on Netflix, all on interventions, where basically, it's a bit of an old series, I think it was back from the early 2000s, but basically what happens is there's a person who struggles with some form of addiction. It's usually a substance addiction, whether it's drugs or prescription drugs or alcohol or whatever, right? And they've all got these addictions that are hugely destructive, like they're at the point of death in their lives, right? Like the next next drink or their next drug could be the end of them. And basically, these people who are struggling with the addiction have kind of been, tricked a little bit, and they think that they've signed up for being part of a documentary on addiction, which is true, right? But what happens is, the real point is to draw this person in, and then their family have really set it up so that they can get to give this person an intervention and actually hopefully change their lives and get them to commit to breaking through and maybe going to rehab and all sorts of stuff. And so what happens in each of these episodes is that you follow this addict, and they talk about their addiction in their own words, what got them there, what their daily life is like. It follows their life. You're also talking to the family, like the family's talking to, being involved in the whole process. And then basically toward the end, they set up this whole intervention, and the person comes into the intervention and they're so surprised, and then their family goes through this process with an expert who is guiding the whole process to help break through to the heart of this person. All right. And so when you watch this stuff, it really gets to the heart of what matters, right? And you're really watching people in the raw emotion of love. And, I think we don't get to see enough of that in realism, right? Like, we see a lot of movies out there that are all love movies, but they're all about the romance, right? And they're all about that side of love. But what about the love at the point of somebody's pure darkness, right? When they've just completely lost who they actually are. And that to me is the most inspiring place to witness love. So basically, what I've seen after watching a few of these different episodes, it's just solidified for me. And I invite you guys to check out that series. I think it's called Intervention on Netflix. Should have probably looked that up. But anyway, looking at these dynamics where these people, these addicts are having their whole family come together, band together, and try and from their heart break through to the heart of the addict. It's really just given me personal perspective on, knowing that our addictions are an escapism from a self-degrading mind. What does that mean? So every single one of these addicts, when you listen to their story, if you just took their behavior and you witnessed the torment that it put these families under, and how much it was taking over everybody's lives, you'd think initially, what a selfish person. Like, get your act together. Can't you see the damage that you're doing to your family? Blah, 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 blah. But actually under the surface, and when you get to hear the truth of the stories of what's going on for this human being to get them to this point, is that they are so self-loathing, so self-degrading. Majority of them have had a traumatic childhood. They've had terrible things happen to them in childhood and later on in life as well. But basically they've had terrible things happen to them, terrible treatment, and over time that has worn off on them, and they just are judging themselves so harshly. They've got no love for themselves, and all they're doing is, it's like their home is their body, their home is their mind, right? And they're with themselves all the time. And if you think about it that way, like if you're in a super critical, judgmental, negative home that you can never escape from, you're going to do anything in your power to source out some external thing that can actually allow you to escape for a period of time from your internal mind, that self-degrading relationship that you have with yourself. You just want any sort of thing to dull that down for a moment of relief, right? And that's what these people are doing. They're searching for this external source to take them away from that internal pain that they can't get away from, right? And so they go to these external sources, and then what happens is, anything that they're going to, any sort of substance that they can get their hands on, whether that be food or, drugs or alcohol or sex or whatever it is, some sort of external state changer, it doesn't last forever. It wears off, right? And then all of a sudden the self-degrading mind is back in action for them. They're still in it. It's like 24/7 abuse. and until they can find some external source to escape from it. And basically, when you notice and see that, and you see that these people are going to these external sources to escape their internal self-degradation, what you can see is that each of these different substances that they go to, they wear off, they need another hit, they need something else, they need some, and it's constantly, degrading on top of not only their internal world, now it's come to their external world. Now it's in their body. They've just taken their body, they've abused their body so much. It's a representation of the abuse going on in their internal mind, right? And there's no love there. And the thing is that over time, these things that have happened to them, these beliefs and mindsets that they've had toward themselves, that have often come from the external world, they seep in so deep that they lose love and respect for themselves. They're trying to get some sort of escape from the internal prison that they've set up for themselves. And then they're going to these external sources. They know they're bad. They're not stupid, right? They know that what they're doing is not good for them. And they go to that. And every time you go to something that's not healthy for you, that's not good for you, you lose a little respect for yourself. You lose a little more love for yourself. How you're treating yourself. Think about yourself as kind of two entities. You've got the kind of like that internal child that needs your nurturing, needs your care. And then you've got the quote unquote adult self who's taken all the action and doing the things and making the choices. If you're making choices and decisions that you know that your inner self knows isn't good for it, it's not going to trust you. It's not going to love you. It's not going to respect you. If you're making good choices that are healthy for you, you start to love and respect yourself more. It's all interconnected, right? It's like what comes first, the chicken or the egg, the self-respect or the actions that, reinforce that. It's whichever comes first. But at the end of the day, these people have got themselves in such a cycle of degradation that it's not only going on in their internal, but it's also coming from the external in terms of what they're doing. And they get themselves into such an empty state because they get addicted to this external source, because it's giving them a sense of relief for a moment from the self-degradation. And then what happens is that starts to wear off. Now their mind chatter and how they feel about themselves is even lower because they've been doing these things that they feel out of control of doing and they know aren't good for them. And they've gotten themselves to a point where they have zero love for themselves at all. And what happens is when you don't love yourself, right, you don't see anybody else, right? You don't care about anybody else. You can't see how you're affecting or hurting people because you're in such survival. If you don't have any form of self-love, you're just in survival mode, right? And so, it's love, in actual fact, that is what heals us and inspires us to evolve past our patterns, right? But we can't, we can't love others when we have a lack of love for ourselves, and we become selfishly fixated on escapism from a reality too painful to face in an unloving home, that goes with us wherever we go. We take this wherever we go, and that's our self-degrading mind. All right, so thinking about that way. And the problem really is that what we end up doing is putting ourselves into this infantile state. That pattern of behavior, of addiction, trying to get over the self-degradation that's going on inside. What happens is, at the end of the day, all of that leading us to this lack of love inside, it brings us back to the beginning of our childhood, right? When you're a baby and you're born into this world, you rely on others to love you enough to take care of your survival, right? And if you, over time, you kind of develop your own style, and you're taught to how to fend for yourself. And if you have enough self-love and self-respect, you'll do that for yourself. You'll keep going. But at this point in people's journey, because of the addiction, because of all of the unresolved issues that have happened, that now they've projected this lack of self-worth, this no value in the self, that's led them to engage in behaviors that just reinforce that they shouldn't have any love or respect for themselves. And then they put themselves in such a lack of love for themselves that it becomes they're an infant again. And the only way out for these people is for somebody else to love them enough to be to look out for their survival and their future, because they can no longer ever do that for themselves. They're trapped in the cycle. And so what I was able to see, and what you guys would be able to see if you check this series out, it's just a good it's a good depiction of what we're talking about. But these people who love them had to band together, and ultimately they'd each, say, write letters from their heart and share them in this intervention to try and get to the heart of that addict's, that addict's persona and how they've been operating. And basically, that was the only way that they were going to be able to break through to this person, is through love. This person is so critical, they're so self-degrading that, anybody in their external just hitting them with why you shouldn't be doing this, and look what you're doing to us, and this and that and whatever, it's just reinforcing that inner mind's chatter and just forces them to desire to go and escape again on a even larger scale. The point is, then they've got no love or respect for themselves, and they've put themselves in a position where they're now such infants again that they're relying on external people to wake them up to the love, to love them through that stage. They have to revisit that stage of development, to become an actual self, a self again, right? Like an adult who can make wise decisions about the future and respect themselves and love themselves. And so, it's really important to understand that an addiction is an escapism from a self-degrading mind, and love from external sources becomes the only antidote. And from that place, if enough people can love and believe in them and show them from the heart that's what it is, and also, wake them up from a point of not criticism and rejection, but actually, hey, I love you too much to allow you to continue on with this kind of behavior. Look at how it's affecting the people that you love and love you. Look at how amazing you've been. Look at the value that you've added to our lives. Look at how intelligent you are. Look at how amazing you are as an individual. Look at who you used to be, and look at what's happened to you now. Enough is enough, and here's the solution. Here's all of our support. And also, here's the consequences for us showing you what healthy boundaries for a human being looks like, so that you can wake up to your own and you can respect yourself enough, and we have to role model that. But it's super, super important for us to understand that, because most of us, we don't realize that anybody's behavior in the external world is either coming from love or it's coming from fear. These people operating in such a degrading way and self-disrespecting, there's no love, and they treat others in a poor way, or they seem selfish and they seem like they're just creating so many problems for the people that they love. We can look through that behavior. Give them the gift that they can't give to themselves. They can't look through their behavior. That's the inevitable cycle that just keeps reoccurring for them, because they keep judging themselves. They know what they're doing is wrong. They don't need anybody else telling them that what they're doing is wrong. They need people to love them and wake them up, and show them what it looks like to be a self-loving and self-respecting human being who cares about themselves and cares about the people that they love, and are willing to do whatever it takes to break through, are willing to be not liked, so that they can actually wake this person up and give them the greatest gift that they could ever hope to receive. And this is what saves lives. Love, not more fear, not more judgment, an understanding of what's truly going on in the heart of another individual. and, you know, and knowing that they're not stupid, they know right from wrong, but they're trapped. And if you get to that level of, you know, that low point, you know, you do resort back into that infantile stage, and you do require people who love you to love you through it, but not in the way that enables that poor behavior, which is a lot of these families were enabling the behavior and thinking they were doing the right thing, you know, for instance, like, you know, keeping them living in their home and maybe even driving them to get their drugs or their alcohol or whatever, and kind of enabling the behavior, thinking, well, at least I can see if they're going to die, at least I can check their pulse, you know, and, you know, it's coming from a good place, but you've got to realize the difference between, it's kind of like motherly love is quite enabling. It's like unconditional. It's like, hey, you can do no wrong and I'll just love you no matter what, which is a beautiful part of human nature. But we also need the other side of love, the fatherly love that says, hey, there's some rules, there's some consequences here. I love you too much to allow you to behave in ways that are not healthy for you and not healthy for us, right? There's both sides, and we need an integration of that in order to get to the hearts of people who really absolutely need it. And I know I'm talking, you know, on this large scale in terms of, you know, addicts, you know, on kind of on their deathbed, but I talk about the extreme because you can apply it to your own life. Look at how, you know, you operate in ways that you're less than proud of, and tell me you don't want somebody in those moments to be able to actually love you through your behavior, and tell me it doesn't make things a hell of a lot worse when people judge you and condemn you and criticize you when you already know that you've operated in a bad way, you know. And we have to be more nurturing to other people's self-esteems if we want to create healthy relationships and healthy lives, you know, for ourselves and for the people that we invite into our sphere, and, you know, on a much larger scale as well. And we can, you know, just simplify it to this. And this comes from, this is kind of the thesis of A Course in Miracles. Everything is either a call for love or an expression of love. All right, it's either fear or it's coming from love. And at the end of the day, the only way to get through to somebody in a lot of fear where they don't have any love, you know, is to love them through it. They've got an empty bucket. It needs filling. And you need to be the one to be able to do that for the people that you love. And in order to do so, you need to be somebody who's self-loving, self-respecting, has good boundaries, and doesn't enable other people, but actually knows how to, you know, just be a good role model, all right, for other people. So anyway, I could go talk all day, as you guys know. I hope that what I've shared with you guys so far is of value to you, and it does just get you thinking, because we all have addictions in our lives. Anytime you do something that you know isn't good for you, and you feel like you can't really control it, like, you know, we might have it on a smaller scale. We might have it on, you know, we procrastinate a lot and we don't really get the job done, all right, or our goals accomplished, or we, you know, get a bit stressed out and we eat a bunch of bad food, you know, or, you know, we drink too much because we feel shy and nervous in a social setting, or whatever. There's all these things that we think, oh, they're not like addictions, they're not bad, like when we compare them to, you know, these people who are about to lose their lives based on their addictions. But it's all of the same quilt, right? It's all coming from the same place. When you are self-loving and self-respecting, you make different choices. When you lose a bit of self-love and you lose a bit of self-respect, you know, your standards drop and you end up treating yourself in a way that's, you know, less than healthy. You know, so instead of judging and condemning yourself for your humanness, right, because we all do this stuff, it's about, oh, okay, I'm doing that thing again. How can I be more self-loving and self-respecting here? How can I show myself more compassion here, not criticism, right? Because criticism puts us on a downward loop, you know, a downward spiral, I should say, into that that pattern and that cycle of doing the thing, you don't feel very self-loving and self-respecting, you do something that is unhealthy, it just magnifies the fact that you don't love yourself, don't respect yourself, so you do more of that thing, and then it lowers you again in your self-love, self-respect, and then you do it again, and it's just like a cycle to the bottom till you end up in that infantile stage where you're relying on other people to save you. All right, and let's not get to that point. And if we do get to that point, or we have people in our lives that are getting to that point, just know that the real cause of that is a self-degrading mind, and the only antidote is love, right? Think about people like that resorting back to an infantile stage. When you're a baby and you're born, you can't fend for yourself, you can't survive by yourself, you can't plan for your future by yourself. You are relying on external sources to love you enough for your survival and your future. And even as adults, we can come back to that stage where we get trapped in those self-degrading cycles. All right, so just bear that in mind, and I definitely want to check in with you guys, and think about connecting more to those darker, deeper emotions. Like I mentioned at the beginning of this session today, that's a big part of the work that I've been doing, and I've actually been using like documentaries like this to actually tap more into, where's my sadness, where's my it's mainly sadness for me, but where's my anger, or where's my energy, and we can empower ourselves by tapping into the darker emotions. And if you're kind of wired like me, you might need external sources to kind of wake you up to emotion, like so that you can go, oh, this is so sad, what's going on for this person. Other people can do that really easy within themselves. They can just access those emotions, and there's a lot of neuroscience around that, which is super interesting. That's why I do a lot of personality psychology. But anyway, you guys know me. I go off on major tangents. I want to check in with you guys. Let me know where in the world you're tuning in from. Is this of value, this kind of message for you guys? Have you got any experience with this that you want to share? Or do you have any questions that you'd like to ask? I love getting to connect with you guys and kind of co-create this space. So let me check in. I've got Judy and Gabrielle and Adam and Carly and Jared and Simon and Kim and Ruxana. Hi V. What is the name of the documentary? Would love to watch it. Awesome. You'll love it. It's really, really powerful. I'm thinking of even trying to get the guy who is the interventionist on it. I might try and interview him if I can. I might reach out and see if I can interview him for you guys, because I think he's amazing, and he's got such experience with this stuff that matters. It's called Intervention, I think. I think it's just called Intervention. But if you just search Intervention on Netflix, it should come up for you. But yeah, it's back from 2008, I think. So it's not a new series, but it's on Netflix here in Australia at least. So hope you can find it, and let me know how you find it. And I'd love to be able to dialogue with some of you guys about this once you watch it. And Tara's here as well, and Talitha, and Jamie, hello to you. Good to see you. And Brian, greetings from New Jersey. Thank you so much for being here. And Simon, yay. Anything we can't walk away from is an addictive source that we require to fill us. Boom. Oh my gosh. Respecting ourselves and healthy love for ourselves, and having loving, supportive people who don't sympathize and fill us, but rather support us with empathy and allow us to fill ourselves with love and compassion. No one can save you. Only you can save yourself. Yeah, so you've made some brilliant points here, as per usual, Simon. But what I'd like to say about that is there is a point. So we, as pretty fully functioning human beings, I think everybody probably watching this video today, you're probably somebody who is very connected to your growth, otherwise you wouldn't tune in. And you're somebody who's always looking to take responsibility for your life and be the person who can break through your negative patterns and get to the other side, right? And we can look at it from that respect. And the example that I've shared with you guys today is kind of the extreme of it, where these people have literally got themselves to a point where they require external sources to role model for them what love and respect looks like, both for themselves and for others. And basically, yeah, nobody can, what's the saying? You can lead a horse to water, you can't make it drink, right? So at the end of the day, these people in these interventions, they're making the choice, right? Nobody's forcing them to get to this place. But at the end of the day, that's the best thing that they could ever do, because if you're not making your own choices, any change that you're forced into will oftentimes be short-lived, right? But what you get to see, and why I invite you guys to check out this series, is you get to see somebody who's so closed off from change have their heart kind of broken into by the hearts of other people who truly love them and are sharing from their heart with truth, and it breaks through to them to get them to that point where they do make the choice to, go and get rehab and go and overcome it. And, I'm not going to lie and say everybody makes it, but there are some amazing stories there with people, and you get to see the transformation, and it's really, really powerful. So you're right, no one can save you. Only you can ultimately save yourself, but never discount the power that we can have on the people that we love, the influence. And the bigger the influence you want to have, the more connected to love it must be, right? If you really want to influence people, it has to come from love, having other people's best interests at heart. If you don't have people's best interests at heart, you're never really going to break through to them. You have to have that. And in order to have other people's best interests at heart and really be able to share that love genuinely, you also need to have a loving relationship with yourself. All right. Otherwise, you might see like you care about somebody, but you might end up just enabling their behavior because you don't love yourself enough to have good, healthy boundaries. Or you might love somebody or care for somebody, but it's all about strength and it's all about telling them what they're doing wrong. And, we can talk into the drama triangle is generally, I should say, is what's happening here. The addict is a victim. They've generally got, I'm going to generalize massively here, but oftentimes you'll see it's the mother maybe in their life who's more of the rescuer, the enabler. They really care about them, but they don't have any boundaries. They're just trying to take over, or they're just trying to make everything okay in the moment, but it ends up being really detrimental to the victim. It keeps them in that victim position. And then you generally, again, this can be either way, but generally speaking, you might have the father figure in that more persecutor role. Like, get your act together. Like, this is what you're doing wrong. And that also forces the victim to stay in that victim position. So what we need is the persecutor, maybe the father figure, to be more of that challenger. Hey, I love you too much to allow you to continue down this path. You're better than this. You've got potential, right? And then that motherly figure transforming from the rescuer and the enabler to more of the coach. Hey, I'm on your team. Like let's do this. Let's do this together, but we're going in this direction, right? So you've got to look at it from those angles as well. And as always, love what you've just shared there, Simon. You're such a superstar, as you know. And Robert, I'm so loving that you're loving this. Grateful to hear that. And David's in the house. And Rife, loving that this is useful for you. Thank you for letting me know. And Bill, hello to you. Great to see you back. And Simon, no judgment, just love, and allowing them to take responsibility without shame and guilt. Absolutely, Simon. And you are such a great example of that, the ability to do that and to kind of take a side seat, not take over and not, retreat away, but actually support somebody to make their own decisions, right? And doing it without judgment. Yep, absolutely. Love that, Simon. And Kurt, great info, really hits home. I'm so grateful to hear that. Thank you so much for letting me know, Kurt. Love it when these messages are resonating with you guys and of value. And Steele's here, and Kane and Zara, awesome. And Simon, much love to you. And Roxana, you found it. Awesome, thanks. Cool. So any of you guys who are going to check out that series, the intervention series, let me know. Let me know your thoughts. Shoot me a message and give me a recap on what you're finding. And my challenge to you for your own personal growth is to ultimately use it also to not only, you know, understand what's going on for these other human beings, use it to allow whatever emotion comes up for you to come up to the surface, right? There is a lot of people out there, majority of the world, who have a lot of repressed emotion, and sometimes, you know, seeing something that really hits home to your heart and allowing that expression to come to the surface is it's really unlocking a lot of your own potential, would you believe it or not? All right, repressed emotion ultimately stifles your growth and your potential. So we need to look at that element. You know, it's not just about the mind, it's not just about the body, it's also about the emotional states that we're engaging in if we want to transcend and we want to get to the next level of our potential. So you can do what I did, which was get into some of these documentaries for the purposes of unlocking more of my own emotion and connecting to stuff that matters. And I hope that that serves you. And Paul, right on as usual. So grateful to hear that, my friend. Thank you so much for showing up and sharing. So that is my message for each and every one of you guys today. Hope it hits home. Hope you can apply it to your own life. You know, you don't have to be an addict at the end of, you know, at the end of it all in order to get value from this. But make sure that you just get the message that, you know, when we are engaging in any form of addiction on whatever level, you know, anything unhealthy that we're doing that we feel kind of out of control of, and we know it's not good for us and we feel bad about it, you know, ultimately that addiction is an escapism from a self-degrading mind. Your mind is degrading yourself, right? And basically the only antidote is love. So if you're at that stage where you just kind of probably like you guys and myself, where we kind of got a bit of self-love and we've got a bit of self-respect and that stuff, and we do, you know, fall into these addictive patterns because we're humans at times, just make that alert you to the fact that you're not loving yourself, you're not respecting yourself. Instead of judging yourself for that and just adding to the equation, have compassion for your humanness, you know, and go, what sort of self-loving, nurturing thing could I do for myself? What is it that I actually need right now? You know, to take that time to build that emotional intelligence, to make a different choice. And when you do make poor decisions, you know, have that compassion and, you know, get back to a place where you're going to choose a different way moving forward that you're going to be proud of yourself for. And that's going to up level your self-love and self-respect moving forward. You know, you need to have a sense of growth, and looking at it from that perspective is really valuable. And also the people in your life that you love most, when they behave poorly, you know, and they do things that they're not proud of, you know, be able to see through behavior and give them love. And I just want to put a caveat here. Don't let people treat you like crap, right? You know, there is definitely a time and place for you to be putting your boundaries up, but that's not distinctly different from love. Actually, having healthy boundaries is love, right? Role model what self-love and self-respect looks like for people when they behave badly, because that will help to wake them up. And instead of judging and condemning them, treat them with compassion, love through their behavior, and you'll have a greater influence. All right. So Rana, hello to you and anybody just joining me now. Hope you guys catch the recording, get a ton of value from today's message. Thank you so much to everybody who could join me live today and contribute to the conversation. You are so appreciated. And as always, I'm sending you guys all of my love, light, blessings, gratitude, energy, enthusiasm, everything extraordinary coming to you to wherever you are in the world today. I really do hope that it's beautiful, amazing, extraordinary, that you're doing something super empowering, and today's message has definitely served you. I'm signing off. I'm sending you guys all of my love, and I cannot wait to see you tomorrow.